Now in my last video, I showed you a tow hitch that I had installed by Tesla on my Model Y. And I also showed you some other less expensive third-party options that were also available. And now that I have a tow hitch on my Model Y, I'm going to show you my very first use case for having it in the first place. A bike rack. And not just any bike rack, but one that in my opinion is the most versatile bike rack on the market, and possibly one that you've never heard of.
Hello, Motow.
So for this video, I'm going to show you the Motow Double e-bike and bicycle carrier. Now I purchased this bike carrier on my own, so all my thoughts and opinions about the product are not influenced in any way. And with that said, spoiler alert, I wholeheartedly recommend this product, not just for e-bikes, but any bicycle for that matter. Okay, with that out of the way, let me tell you why I recommend this particular bike carrier when there are so many others out there to choose from. So a few months back, I purchased a couple of e-bikes for Dana and myself. And although they're both from the same company called Juice Bikes, the two couldn't be any more different. One of them has a very familiar bicycle design and it's called the Cross Current X. And the other is designed more like a moped with pedals, and it's called the Scorpion. Now despite these differences, they do have something in common. They're both pretty heavy. And considering that the average bicycle comes in at around 29 pounds, Dana's Cross Current X comes in at about 65 pounds, while my Scorpion comes in at a whopping 100 pounds. Now you can lighten the load a little bit by removing the batteries, which weigh about 10 pounds apiece. But even with that subtracted, the combined weight of these two bikes tips the scales at 145 pounds. Now of course these bikes do have a lot of power and a lot of range, so really that weight was never a concern. But now all that changed once I had the tow hitch installed on my Model Y and traveling with them became an option. So as I began searching for a bike carrier, I quickly discovered that these bike racks, even the ones that say they're for e-bikes, weren't actually rated to handle these particular weights. As a matter of fact, the ones that came even close, they were these big bulky contraptions that were pretty much heavy all to themselves. So my choices at this point were really rather limited. I could take a chance on one of these racks and hope that they wouldn't fail, or I could just nix the idea altogether. But I kept searching and I found a company that has some racks for traveling with motorcycles and dirt bikes. But on the site was their e-bike carrier. Now not only does this rack easily handle the weight of any e-bike, but as you'll soon see, it's a snap to install and the rack itself weighs only 27 pounds. So let's go ahead and do a quick unboxing. So as you'll now see, the Motow Double e-bike and bicycle carrier is very easy to install. And as you'll also see in a bit, it turned out to be a lot more versatile than I originally thought it would be. Now that you've seen what's inside the box, let me go ahead and show you just how easy it is to install, as well as just how easy it is to get two heavy e-bikes onto this rack by yourself. And as you'll soon see here in just a little bit, I'm going to discover an additional versatility to this carrier that I had no idea even existed. Anyway, the first step is to install the base frame into the tow hitch. Keep in mind, the bike carrier does not come with a hitch pin, but that's probably a good thing, because you'd probably want to get one with a lock on it anyway. Once installed, there's an anti-wobble stabilizer bolt that should be tightened prior to mounting the support arms. Now you could do this later, but you have a lot easier access now. Now once that's done, you'll simply place the two support arms with attached wheel cradles onto the base frame. They're clearly marked left and right. Also take note of these adjustment positions which pertain to specific wheelbase sizes. I chose the middle position, which worked out perfectly for me. There are two tire supports which are also clearly marked left and right, and because they're attached to the bottom of the tires, I recommend that you install them after you mount the bikes. And as far as getting the bikes onto the rack, of course having two people is always easier, but it's also designed so that one person can place the heaviest of e-bikes onto this rack by themselves. And how you do this is by lifting one wheel at a time onto the wheel cradle. Once the front and rear wheels are rested onto the nearest cradle, simply lift and position each wheel onto the aft wheel cradle. Once your e-bikes are in place, it's time to install the bottom wheel supports. I suggest installing them very loosely at first so as to allow you to get the best alignment with the bottom of the tires. Now here's where I learned just how versatile this system really was. For whatever reasons, I never took into account that my Scorpion's wheels were smaller than that of the cross-current wheels. And because of this, the wheel supports couldn't physically match up with both sets of tires. But after a quick call to Motow's customer support and someone who I can actually talk to, they let me know that they sold a shorter wheelbase support for my particular situation. And sure enough, those extra wheel supports did solve my problem. Anyway, that's really all there is, and you're all set to go. So now let's talk about the price, because I've seen some racks that were priced right around $300. That sounds pretty affordable, but they still weren't rated to handle the weight, and they had a lot of plastic clips that would hold the bikes in place. Now that didn't exactly install a high level of confidence, especially when you're going to be zipping down the highway with some expensive e-bikes behind you. Then there are those bike racks that are made by some familiar names, such as Tool and 1UP. And they appear to be heavy duty, but even they didn't meet some of the weight specifications required by these heavy e-bikes. Not only that, they're priced anywhere from $750 to $1,100. Not to mention that by themselves, they weigh 40 or more pounds. And because they're big and bulky, they're kind of hard to store when they're not in use. However, the Motow, that initially cost me $489, and then after having to add those two additional tire supports at $24 a piece, came out to around $682. But now I have one of the strongest and easiest to use bike racks out there. Now believe me, I did my research on this, and this is pretty hard to beat. And when not in use, I found this canvas bag on Amazon that all the pieces fit into, and it takes up very little space when I need to store it. So with that said, Motow does have motorized options, and these are of course more expensive. But if you don't want to lift your bikes up, these basically lower the rack close to the ground so you barely even have to lift the wheels at all to get them onto the rack itself. I'll leave a link to this company in the description below. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful, and if that's the case, please hit the like button. That tells the YouTube algorithm to get this video out to other Tesla owners and those looking for heavy-duty bike racks just like this. Also, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, which will alert you to all the new videos that I put out in the future. And one last shameless plug, use the link in my description below for 1,000 free supercharger miles when it's time to purchase your new Tesla. Alright, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.